Hey guys, welcome back. It is wedding week. My brother-in-law's wedding is on Friday and I'm making the wedding cake. So this week a lot of my time is going to be taken up by making a wedding cake, so I thought I would bring you guys along with me and experience this new challenge of making my very first wedding cake. So I'm currently in the process of getting everything ready. I'm starting to bake the cakes tomorrow. Well, I am baking the cakes tomorrow. My plan is to decorate on Wednesday and then I will be taking the cakes on Thursday to the venue and stacking them there. I pretty much have everything ready to go. Down here I've got my boxes that I'll be using to transport the cakes. I've got all of my cake boards and my cake drum for the bottom. I've got my little bubble tea straws down there which I'll be using for support, and these are actually the floral decorations that I made that I'll be using on the cake. Now I did actually film myself making these a little while ago. I'm not gonna lie though, I have changed them a little bit since then because I felt like they were a little bit too big, but I will insert that footage here. Today my plan is to make the floral decorations for this wedding cake. I've got Avery sat in front of me just behind the camera. And this wedding is in just a few weeks, so I feel like if I've got the floral arrangements done, then that's just something I don't have to worry about. So I know the colour schemes and I have purchased some little bundles of flowers in the colour schemes, artificial these are. I also ordered some artificial gyp, and I've got this giant box of just random cut-offs of kind of old flowers and stuff. I made my own wedding decorations, so I've got a lot of leftover from that. These are all just kind of scraps in a way, but I knew they'd come in useful one day. So I think I'm just gonna use these as kind of my bulk and then kind of fill with some of this stuff, and then I think my plan is to somehow attach them to straws so that once the cake is done and stacked and at the venue, all I need to do is kind of add the arrangements to the cake. I have no idea how I'm going to do this. I've got no kind of method in mind. I am just gonna go for it and hope they turn out okay. This is my first wedding cake, so the pressure is definitely on. So in terms of decoration, the flowers really are all I'm doing. What I'm making is a semi-naked 3-tiered cake with some floral arrangements. So it's nice and easy for my first ever wedding cake, to be fair. I say easy, I have never made a 3-tier cake before. I've also never baked a 10-inch cake before, which is what the bottom tier is going to be. But I am as prepared as I possibly can be. I've already got all of my cake tins lined. I've just kept tea towels over them so nothing goes in them until tomorrow. I've got extra baking paper for one of the tins, which I've only got one of, so I'll need to reline that one to bake the second 2 layers for that. I've got my bowls because I'm going to pre-weigh out all of my ingredients while each cake is baking. I've got all my ingredients. I've got my trusty stand mixer, which I'm definitely going to be needing for this cake. And for once, I have actually remembered to pull my butter out of the fridge, so this should hopefully be nice and soft by tomorrow. So I'll go through how I'm making the cakes and the flavours and whatnot with you tomorrow. For now, I'm just going to leave all that there. I feel like I'm pretty much good to go. I'm going to start as early as I possibly can tomorrow so I can get all of these cakes baked and wrapped up, ready to frost. So the journey begins. Morning guys, it is time to get cracking. So I've already weighed out my ingredients. My plan is to do this for each batch just to make it easier. I'm actually starting with a 10-inch, and the batch that I'm making now will account for half of the 10-inch cake. So I've got 375 grams of flour, sugar and butter, and I've got 7 eggs. If you were using large eggs, then you'd probably only need 6, but I think mine are kind of medium size, and I did weigh them. They're a little bit over 375 grams, but I'm hoping this cake batter will be nice and fluffy so that it will rise nicely in the oven and I'll get a taller cake. I am using my stand mixer just so I can get the batter nice and fluffy, like I said. And for starters, I am going to take the shield off just because it's easier for me to get to the batter that way. I never take it off and it always irritates me. So as always with a standard cake, I'm just going to start by creaming the butter and sugar together. Now all of these cakes are going to have a vanilla base. The only difference between them is the 6-inch cake, I am going to grate some lemon zest into it. Other than that, they're all going to be a vanilla based sponge. I am making a semi-naked cake, and bride and groom actually gave me free rein with the flavours, but I had to be mindful that because it is going to be semi-naked, I couldn't make a tea chocolate or red velvet or anything. The cakes all needed to be the same colour. So I'll talk more about what flavours I'm doing when I actually frost the cake, but for now I am just making plain vanilla cases aside from the 6-inch, which will just have some added lemon zest in it. The butter and sugar is super pale and fluffy. I beat it for about 5 to 6 minutes just to get it as kind of fluffy as I could, and now I am just adding the eggs bit by bit and then beating them for about 1 to 2 minutes in between. I'm adding about 2 at a time. The last 3 eggs have just gone in, and I'm also going to add my vanilla now. Honestly, I'm just going to eyeball this. I'm aiming for maybe about a teaspoon, and then give that one good last beat before I add the flour. I've just given it a little scrape around the bowl. It is looking a little bit curdled. That is what it's looking like at the moment, but that's okay. That generally happens with the eggs. Basically, once you add the eggs, it looks curdled. It should all come together with the flour. Well, it always does, so I know it will. And with the flour, I think I'm just going to add this maybe half at a time, and then mix it on a low speed because I don't want to overwork the gluten in the flour, because I think that makes more of a kind of tough, stodgy cake. I could be wrong. I think that's why, but either way, I don't want to overwork flour, so I'm going to pop it on a low speed. So before I put this into the cake tin, I am just going to give it a good mix by hand, just to make sure that everything is kind of off the sides and the bottom of the bowl. The only thing with this stand mixer is sometimes it doesn't get everywhere. I mean, it looks pretty well incorporated, but I just want to make sure there's no bits of flour or anything stuck to the sides or the bottom of the bowl. It's looking really fluffy, which I'm happy with. Okay, I'm happy with the batter. So, like I said, 10-inch tin, and I'm just going to plop all of this batter in the tin. I can definitely tell the difference from when I melt butter to make cakes and when I actually fluff it up. You just get a lot of cake batter, like a lot more cake batter, because it's so airy, and then in turn you obviously get a lighter, fluffier cake, and it's also just a little bit bigger in the end as well. And I'm trying to make these cakes as tall as I possibly can. Just gonna push it to the edges just to make sure it's covering all of the cake tin and just even out the batter a little bit. The oven does a lot of that work, but I just want to give it a bit of a head start. So I'm just going to pop this in the oven now. I've got it on 170 degrees Celsius, and that's with a fan assisted oven. And I'm going to check it after 30 minutes. I imagine it will probably need much longer than that, but I'm going to check it after 30 minutes and then gauge how much longer I think it'll need. And essentially now the process is kind of rinse and repeat until all the cake layers are baked. What I am going to do while that is baking is just get all of my ingredients ready for the next batch. I think I'm going to work on the 8-inch cakes next. I'm going to do the lemon one last because obviously that will taint the bowl with a lemony flavour. So yeah, let's do that process over and over again. I've just pulled the last cake out of the oven. The cakes are all baked. It is now 1 o'clock. So I have been baking cakes since I think about 7:30 this morning. So what's that? 6 hours? 5.5, 6 hours. Overall happy with the cakes. So I've got my 2 6-inches and one of my 8 inches there. I've got my 10-inch that's just cooling down. It's literally just come out the oven. There's my other 2 8 inches. Now, obviously, as you can see, I'm running out of space on the worktops, which is why the cakes are over here. But, so this was the first batch I did this morning. And bearing in mind, I have never cooked or baked, sorry, a 10-inch cake in my life. And I have been terrified about undercooking these cakes. So, as you can probably see, it's a little bit dark. But what I am gonna do is tomorrow, when I kind of cut the cakes and get them all prepped for frosting and everything, I'm gonna see what I can do about kind of almost skimming off the very outer layer just to get rid of that darkness, because I could tell the cake was super fluffy when I pulled it out of the oven. So I know it's fine on the inside, it's just the edges are a little bit too crisp. The other 8-inch, the bigger 8-inch, kind of did something similar, and I think it is just because those are the cakes that I am baking 2 layers in one, basically. So it stands to reason they need to be baked for longer. They are going to be a little bit darker on the outside. The 6 inches came out lovely, and I think as I've been going through the day, I've kind of really learnt the timings and kind of really learnt how to test when they're done just before they get overdone. But I think it'll be fine. I think I will be able to make that cake look fine, because I know it is still nice and bouncy. It's not kind of hard or anything. And I will be using sugar syrup as well tomorrow to make the cakes nice and moist. But I'm going to finish letting the rest of the cakes cool, wrap them all in cling film. I have a colossal mess in this kitchen to clean up. Literally all of the worktops are covered. So I will get to that. I need to take a break from this kitchen. It also looks like it's about to rain and my washing is out there, so I better bring that in too. But I haven't decided yet if I want to make my buttercream tonight or if I just want to make it in the morning, because tomorrow's going to be another really busy day. So yeah, I'll let you know what I decide to do, but in the meantime, at least the cakes are baked. I have so many burns on my fingers, particularly my thumbs. I kept kind of catching the trays in the oven as I was pulling the cakes out. But I'm glad they're baked. Step 1 is done. So I've decided I am going to make a couple of batches of my buttercream tonight, just to make things go a little bit smoother, a little bit easier tomorrow. So I'm making Swiss meringue buttercream. If any of you have tried Swiss meringue buttercream over the kind of like American frosting, It's just superior. It's so much nicer, much less sweet, but really, really creamy. Like, it literally tastes like ice cream. And it's the buttercream I will always do for any kind of vanilla based cake. So if I'm doing a chocolate cake, I'll usually make chocolate ganache. For vanilla cakes, I will always make Swiss meringue buttercream because it's really good. However, it has a lot of butter in it, so I don't want to think about the calorie count. So I think I am going to make 2 batches tonight, and I'm going to go for 500 grams of sugar, 500 grams of butter, and 250 grams of egg whites in each batch. So you always need double the amount of butter and sugar than you do egg whites. And I'm just gonna weigh my sugar and egg whites into this bowl. I'm using a metal bowl on purpose. It is important that you use a bowl that is heat resistant, because I'm actually going to be putting this over a pan. And now I'm going to add 250 grams of egg whites. You can keep the egg yolks and make like custard or like a carbonara sauce with them. I don't really need to keep my egg whites. I don't really have anything to make with them at the moment. So sadly, mine are just going to be going in the bin. But you can make some really nice recipes with egg yolks. So if you plan ahead, then you can definitely save some waste. I've got 259 grams of egg whites here, but that is okay. Now I'm just going to give that a little bit of a mix together, and then I'm going to pop this on a pan of simmering water, and then that will melt the caster sugar into the egg white, and it will also bring the egg whites up in temperature. We're trying to get them to 63 degrees Celsius. That is the temperature where they are safe to eat. I don't have a thermometer, but according to Georgia's Cakes, if you dip your finger in it and it feels like very hot bath water, not hot enough to scald you, but it does feel very hot to touch, that's when you know that they've probably reached about 63 degrees. So I'm just going to give these a mix and then pop them onto heat. So once this has hit the right temperature, I'll take it over to my stand mixer and whisk it all up, and that is what makes the meringue part of the Swiss meringue buttercream. So that has formed a nice meringue. It's got stiff peaks, that's kind of what I wanted. This bowl is still quite warm though. So before I start adding butter, I'm going to let this cool completely, just so the butter doesn't melt when I add it. And then I have 500 grams of butter here. This is softened butter and it's obviously been cubed just to make it easier. And then once this is cooled down, I'll put it on a low setting, so a low speed, and add this butter bit by bit. Once it's all added, I'll whack it back up to high speed, and it slowly starts to make like this really fluffy, lovely buttercream, and it tastes really, really good. So I'm just going to leave this there to cool down for now. Morning guys. If I am looking a little bit flustered today, it is because I am a little bit flustered today. My daughter Avery went into hospital last night, and she's still there, so that's where I stayed last night. My husband is with her now. I have just come back to crack on with these cakes. As you would have seen this morning, I've just spent the last half hour trimming and kind of cutting all of the layers and getting them ready. My plan is to go back to the hospital once I'm done with the cake. I was in the right mind to just forget about it. Obviously Avery always comes first, but she's in safe hands at the moment and my husband is with her, and I really didn't want to let my brother-in-law down 2 days before his wedding, so I've come back to sort these cakes before I go back to the hospital. I've got my buttercream ready. I've got another batch in the stand mixer. I put it in the fridge overnight and then I took it out, or Josh took it out this morning, and then I gave it another quick whisk just to make sure that it had fully come to room temperature, and it was nice and fluffy again, because when it's been in the fridge it kind of sets a little bit like ice cream. But anyway, I've got that. And then as you can see, I've also got my cake layers. So these two here are the 10-inch, these are the 6-inch, and then these ones are the 8-inch. And then I've also got everything that I need to kind of fill it and decorate it. By decorate, I just mean frost it really, because this is a semi-naked cake, so there isn't really much decorating involved. But I've got a step palette knife, I've got a bowl to put any kind of crummy buttercream, I've got some piping bags, I have got my turntable and my scraper, which is on top of there. So like I said, the 6-inch is going to be a lemon flavour. I did have a little nibble on the offcut and there is a really nice subtle lemony zest to that cake, so I'm really happy with that. And then all of the cakes are going to be frosted with the Swiss meringue buttercream, so that will all be cohesive, but what I'm going to put in the cakes will differ. So for the lemon one I am using lemon curd, and then when I coat them all in simple syrup, I've also flavoured the 6-inch simple syrup with lemon juice, so that will have even more of a zesty lemony flavour. The 10-inch is going to be a classic Victoria sponge style cake, so I have some strawberry jam to go in that one, and then the 8-inch cake is going to have caramel inside it. Now I did have a nice fancy pot of salted caramel in my basket, and I was reading through all the reviews and everyone was saying that this one was just as nice, if not better. So I've picked up the carnation caramel, so let's see what that is like. And these are just going to go inside each of the layers along with the buttercream, and then I will finish the cake off with the buttercream. I've also got my cake board. So I've got a 12-inch cake drum. This is the base for the cake, so this is what the 10-inch cake will sit on. And then for my 8 and my 6-inch, this one is a 6-inch with an 8-inch underneath it, just because I obviously want the cake to sit flush on the board for when I stack the cake, but I also want to be able to lift it up when I'm manoeuvring it, so that is what the 8-inch cake board is. If you're wondering why there are cutouts, it is because I've already measured them out in the boxes that I'm going to be transporting these in, and that fits perfectly flush with the box. Same again with this one, 8-inch board on top of a 10-inch board, and there are also 2 holes inside the 8 and the 6-inch boards. That is because I'm going to be using a centre dowel in the 10-inch cake. I'm not 100% sure if that will poke through the 8-inch cake up to the 6-inch cake as well, so I've put holes in both, and that is obviously just so that I can stack them over the dowel. That way, even though I am stacking them there, that way when the cake is being moved from the fridge to the cake stand, there's no chance of it toppling. I am also going to be using jumbo straws to support each tier, but I'm not sure if I'm going to do that until I actually take the cake tomorrow. For now, I really need to get on stacking these cakes because obviously I need to go back to the hospital. Those of you that do follow along on our journey, I will explain more in the next vlog, but for this video I just want to focus on the cake. So if you're not subscribed and don't follow our journey, then please do hit the subscribe button, it really helps me out. Anyway, I've just got a damp piece of kitchen roll and I'm just going to pop that on top of the turntable just so that my cake boards and cake drums are not slipping and sliding around. Okay, so that is flush on there. I'm going to pop a nice dollop of buttercream on the bottom of this cake board, just so I know that this cake is nice and securely stuck down. These are my simple syrups. This one is just plain simple syrup. I think it was 200 grams of granulated sugar mixed with 100 grams of boiling water, and then I've just added some vanilla in that. That is what that kind of dark ring is along the top. That should go away once I give it a mix. And then this one is lemon, so it's the same sugar and water mixture, but I've added lemon juice. So as I stack each of these cake layers, I'm going to be coating them in the syrup, and that should hopefully keep the cakes nice and moist. I hate that word, but it is appropriate for this. It should keep the cakes nice and moist until the wedding day on Friday. So now that I've got a nice even layer of the buttercream, what I'm going to do is pop some into a piping bag, and then I'm going to make a nice ring around the edge of the cake, and this will act as a dam for the jam, just so that when I'm frosting the cake, the jam doesn't come through. And then I'm gonna push the jam out to that dam, just so that there's a nice layer of it. And essentially, I'm just gonna be repeating this step over and over again until the cake is fully stacked. Once it's stacked, I can crumb coat it, and really crumb coating it is all I am gonna be doing, because this is a semi-naked cake, so I want some of the cake to come through. And yeah, that's pretty much it for today. So I'm hoping today's gonna run nice and smooth, and it will be nice and easy. Cakes are all done and they're setting in the fridge. Up here I've just got some spare buttercream that I'm gonna bring to room temperature tomorrow, and then whisk it up, pop it in a piping bag, and then take that with me. Over here I've got everything ready for tomorrow, so I've got 3 boxes there for obviously each cake. I do have some non-slip like sheets, some like shelf liners coming from Amazon today that I'm going to use to stop the cakes from sliding around in the car. And then just here I've got sellotape to kind of take the boxes up, and just the kind of bits that I need to take with me. So I've got like a bit of kind of an emergency kit, I suppose, or not necessarily an emergency kit, just kind of like a patching up kit, because when you're stacking the cakes, you know, fingerprints can happen and whatnot, and just stacking the cakes in general, usually you still get a tiny little gap between each tier. So like I said, I'm taking a piping bag full of buttercream. I've got my jumbo straws to support the cakes. I've got some kitchen roll, I've got the floral arrangements, I've got a couple of palette knives, I've got my scraper, I have got my central dowels. I've packed 3 of them. I'll probably only need 1, but I might as well just take all 3. And then in this bag here, I've just got my turntable just in case I need that. But I think that's everything I'm going to need. Everything's ready to go. So tomorrow the plan is to whack my aircon up full blast, try and make the car as cold as possible, figure out where I'm going to put the cakes. It's either going to be in the footwells, or if I can find a way to keep everything kind of secure in the boot and the aircon will go to the boot, then it will be the boot. But I'll figure that out tomorrow. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a bit nervous about transporting the cakes. It's probably been the thing that I've been most nervous about, because it's actually going to be about an hour and a half away. The weather's quite warm at the moment. I mean, thankfully it has cooled down the last few days, so hopefully it's a little bit cooler tomorrow. But yeah, it's an hour and a half trip up there. that's obviously an hour and a half not being in the fridge. So I know that they've got a fridge ready and waiting for me there, so it could just be a case of as soon as I get there I just bung each tier in the fridge for kind of 20 to 30 minutes, just so that they're nice and firm for when I stack them. Let's pray that they don't all topple over or get damaged on the journey. That is what I am most worried about. I've never transported a cake that far before, and that is why I'm not stacking any of the tiers. They're all going individually, so they've got their best chance of survival. Anyway, I have just finished cleaning up, and I am just waiting for the boys to finish school, and then I'm gonna head back up to the hospital. So I will catch up with you tomorrow. Hey guys, the cake is there, it's stacked, it's done, it's in the fridge, and I haven't got a panic about it anymore. I didn't film assembling it just because there was a lot going on and my brother-in-law was there and his wife-to-be. So, you know, I didn't want to be filming. But I will insert a little clip of what it looks like now. And yeah, it went okay. I made a bit of a boo-boo and forgot to put the supports in when I was stacking the cake, so I then had to destack it all and fix it and then restack it. So that was a little bit nerve-wracking. I was worried I wasn't going to be able to fix it, but I managed. It's in the fridge now. I don't need to worry about it anymore. So glad it's done. Anyway, I am gonna head back home now because I need to go to the hospital because little madam is getting discharged today, thank goodness. So yeah, if you enjoyed making this cake with me, then please hit the thumbs up button and hit subscribe if you'd like to follow us along on our journey. Like I said, in the next video I'll give you a bit more of an update of what's happened with Avery. If my brother-in-law and his bride happen to stumble across this video, then I wish you the world of happiness and a wonderful wedding day. And with that said, I'll see you all in a few days with another video. Bye guys.